So the first recommendation is the individual living with dementia is more than a diagnosis. It is important to know the unique and complete person, including his or her values, beliefs, interests, abilities, likes, and dislikes, both present and past. This information should inform every interaction and experience. So I'm good, but I'm not that good, so I don't have all that by memory yet. But the gist of it for that first recommendations under this area called person-centered care is really know the person. So the way I explain it is really how do we get to know who a person is, and especially a person who is living with dementia who may not have the ability to tell you who they are anymore. So how do we make sure that we spend enough time knowing who somebody is, not only present, but who they've been their whole life? Yeah. And then how do we weave that information into every experience, interaction, care approach that we have throughout the day? How does walking to the dining room also become a discussion around somebody's family? How does helping somebody get dressed also become a discussion around somebody's work life? And so I'm sure that you probably have some really good practices that happen within Brightview that you might be able to tell us about.
Yeah, and this is absolutely the most critical recommendation in my opinion, and I'm glad that you all decided to make it the first one.
Yeah, it's number one.
I mean, it has to be. So kind of practically, what does that look like? Well, first I would say it's an ongoing process. It's not something where you collect information about the person up front and then you consider your job done. I mean, every individual evolves over time and changes. So we can't say, okay, well, I found out where they worked and now I know the person. It's just not that simple. So at Brightview, we have a process called Flourishing at Brightview. It's not specific to people living with dementia, but it's inclusive of people living with dementia. So when all residents come to the community, they're welcomed into the community, and a huge part of that is us building a relationship, and through that relationship, getting to know the person. We're actually in the process of taking our residents' life story, which is a document that finds out information about past biographical information, what someone likes to do, what they like to eat, and what kind of music they like to listen to. So we're taking that information, which in the past was only collected within our dementia care neighborhood. And we said, well, you know, honestly, the best way to do this is to collect this information from all of our residents. So if a resident moves into independent living in a Brightview community, they get this form, this booklet, they fill out the information. Through Flourishing at Brightview, we talk to them about this information. We put this information in a care plan, but then it follows the person. So if over time the person needs a little bit more assistance and they move into assisted living, that life story comes with them. If over time their cognitive ability changes and they decide to move into Wellspring Village, the information that they filled out on that resident's life story comes with them. So right now, today, we get a lot of information from family members, which is incredibly valuable and important, and we'll continue to do that. But there's no information about the person that's better than the information that that person provided you. So we're really excited about collecting this early on and having the information follow the person if and when their cognitive ability changes. So for us, the life story is a critical document, but then we take that and we change our programs to match what the person wants to do. We build personalized music playlists through Mind and Music, which is a music program we have at Brightview. We tailor the dining experience based on that information. So we take that booklet and we use it to inform everything that we do in the daily life of a person living in our community. So again, that's great, but it's just one piece of the puzzle for meeting that recommendation.
Yeah. Well, that's great, and it's really great that the individual is part of the process early on, and as that person transitions, that stays with the person. I mean, when you think about how we get to know who the person is, of course, the individual is key and should be involved at any point and whenever possible. But like you also mentioned, there are other people who could be involved, like family members, other staff, friends. And I think the other important thing that you mentioned is how it evolves over time. Just think about when you first meet somebody, they're not going to tell you everything all at once about them. You have to build a relationship.
Yes.
As you build a relationship, more stuff comes out. And so that's why, you know, an assessment isn't a one-time thing. It's really something that happens over time and is ongoing. It's evergreen. And as you get to know the person better, and as that person's needs changes or the disease progresses, then you keep adding more and more information. Sounds
Yeah.
like you guys have a good approach to sort of incorporating all of that.
Well, our approach needs to change. The plan of support and care needs to change oftentimes. I mean, we have plenty of stories to tell around this, but one that stands out to me, there was a family member at a community in Randolph, New Jersey. Her mother was living in Wellspring Village, and she came in one day, and her mother was eating pizza, just with a huge smile on her face, and she looked at us perplexed. We were kind of wondering why she was so confused, and she said, "Never, never has my mother ever eaten any pizza. In fact, she detested it. And now I walk in, and she's loving life, eating a big slice of pepperoni pizza." So we get this information, and yes, it's critical to what we do, but at the same time, we need to be open to changing and evolving our practices.
Exactly.
And being open to the idea of why not? Yes, it says she doesn't like pizza, but let's ask. Maybe she says, "Heck, I'm 95 years old. Let me have a slice of pizza."
Yeah.
So it's just one example.
Yeah.